Today, our guest is Matthias Richter. Matthias was born in Panama and grew up in Switzerland. He has worked 12 years in private banking in Zurich and Singapore and helped the wealthy manage their money. After spending years of saving and investing smartly, he has achieved financial independence. He then quit his corporate job and started his own business focusing on wealth management and financial life coaching. Today, he will tell you what is the secret sauce of achieving financial independence. Hello, Matthias. Thanks very much for joining our podcast. Nice to have you here.
Hey, Yas, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the honor.
Well, you pronounce my name very well.
Yeah, I studied some Chinese in the past.
Yeah, okay, we will get into that later. And I know that you have always been working with like wealthy people or managing money. Have you always been working with money management since you were young, or when did you start your relationship with money?
My relationship with money. It actually, I believe it started when I was pretty young. So I observed, like all the little kids, they observe their parents. So you see how your environment works. And my father, he was a banker. Already from very young on, I kept wondering, what is this magical tool, money here? And there was one incident, my dad, he kept me on his arm and we went to one of the first ATMs in the early 1980s in Basel. Then I suddenly saw how money came miraculously out of a wall. It was an ATM, and that ATM is not like today that all the banknotes come at once. It's one after another. They come like one of, and then I look at my dad and say, "Can I have the next one?" Because I sincerely believe this is where money comes from. And then I helped my dad to take it, and of course he insisted it's still his. And then he started to say it's not that easy. And from then on, I got somehow curious about money. That's probably when I had my first encounter with that. And from there on, I started to learn and be more curious and interested about it.
And did you make money when you were kids by doing some work, like a side job, student job?
Indeed, yeah, indeed. There was a lot of things I did. When we were small kids, we started to collect fruits and vegetables from our garden as well as from neighbors' gardens and start to sell it in the neighborhood. My sister and I, we also went into selling flowers, selling pine cones, all kinds of things. And later on, of course, I couldn't wait to get a job once I was old enough to qualify for that. So when I was around 13 years old, I asked my dad about having a TV in my room. And he said, yes, you can have a TV, but you've got to earn it for yourself. I'm not going to pay that for you. My mom on the other side, she was a little bit more reserved. She said, no TV for you. You have to focus on your studies. But my dad actually, instead of just making the dream happen, he told me, yes, you can have it. So he empowered me and said, this is how you're going to do it. You can get a job. So a few weeks later, I was a newspaper boy and I got a route of 400 households and I had to distribute these newspapers in our neighborhood, no matter it was raining, sunshine, or whatever the weather was. And it earned me just above 500 Swiss francs per month when I was 14. That was quite awesome. I did some other stuff along the way. I did babysitting. I started to work in a bank as an intern at age 16 and so on. And just started to feel empowered to earn some money, make some wishes come true. Yeah.
So talking about the wishes come true, did you actually buy that TV?
Oh, yeah, the TV, I actually, so it took me about 3 months to earn enough to get to the point where I could buy the TV I liked. And back then there was a huge 16:9 82 centimeter screen, but it was not like the flat screen, it was big. So I was in the shop, I just bought it, and then I didn't know how to transport the thing back home. And that moment I had to call my dad and say, hey dad, I bought the TV. And then he already forgot about our agreement and say, what TV? I said, oh, you didn't know, right? 4 or 5 months ago, you told me if I earn enough, it's okay, I buy my TV. I bought it today. can you come and pick me up and bring the TV home? And so I got that TV. It was great. I put it in my room. I could play Nintendo, had my own things there on the screen. It was awesome. But after a few weeks, I started to realize the bank account was empty again. And that somehow felt interesting. I didn't know that feeling before. So it was just all that effort and time that I put into this job suddenly evaporated. However, I made my dream come true, but somehow the happiness didn't last.
Yeah, it's a short-term utility, we call it, right?
Short-term, yes. You actually think the goal is happiness, but the way is happiness. It's a little bit, you can turn it like that.
Yes. And then how did you start your career as a banker?
Oh, that's well, I was lucky enough before I finished my studies. I went to a TV show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It's about 20 years ago now. And I was lucky enough to make a significant amount of money there. It was 125,000, which actually empowered me at the end of my studies to kind of not just go after the first best job offer, but to venture out. So I left Switzerland for Taiwan when I was 24. So I went with ISEC. It's a great student organization. I highly recommend it to all the young people here that would like to get some international exposure. You can do ISEC traineeships in different fields across the world. I think it's almost 200 countries that are linked up there. And once I was in Taipei, I started to learn Chinese, and my background was economics. So I studied economics. I networked with some Swiss people there. And back then there were about 200 people in the whole of Taiwan, 200 Swiss people in the whole of Taiwan. So in the Swiss club, they looked at me and wondered why this guy is coming here selling electronics back to Europe. And they say, with your background, you should go into wealth management. I mean, you can speak Mandarin. Why don't you use your background from university and apply it to something that has a little bit more earning power? So the salaries are, of course, higher.
And you studied economics, right? From actually a very well-known school in Switzerland.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's a great school. It's the University of St. Gallen. And that's also perfect. And well, they tickled my interest for Asia. I think in my third year, they had a course about the World Trade Organization. And that was the first time some people from China, some professors from China, they came and explained the background. Where is China now? Where do they think it will go? And so on. It was highly interesting as a young person like me, that I think in the back in my family, we usually focused more on the West. So I think everything east of Turkey was kind of, we were not really aware of that. I have to say it like this. And maybe it's like a blind spot, right? They opened my eyes and my curiosity got tackled big time. So that's why from this university, I think it was a door opener for my career. Yeah.
And then that's why you decided to go to Taipei after you won this big prize.
Yes, correct. So I saw a lot of people, they were very happy, of course, and who wouldn't be, right, to land very good jobs after you graduate from that university. But I figured learning languages is something that, have to say it a little bit more complicated. But when I was in school before, I was not really the best language student. So I was not good in French. I was even not good in English. And there was even teachers telling me, you don't have talent for languages. And if you hear that once or twice, maybe you start to believe it. And I felt my talent is more on the number side, on the economic side, on something else, right? Originally, I was born in Panama. And when you were born in Panama, you got a passport. So throughout my life, I had this passport from Panama. During my studies, I went actually there also to learn some Spanish. And it was such a different thing to learn a language from scratch when you are living in the environment as compared to going to classroom studies and just to do it to get some good grades. So the motivation was different. The environment was different. And after I discovered actually my Spanish went very fluent, very fast, I said to myself, why not go for Chinese? That was the logical next step in my mind.
Next challenge, yeah.
Yeah, the next challenge, correct. And then so that's why I think I combined these things and ventured out to Taipei.
Okay, so all the things what happened in the past and then all came together and then you made the decision to go to Taipei. How many years were you working in the banking sector?
Well, in Taipei, I worked for banking maybe half a year, and then later I got a very good job offer back in Zurich in a famous Swiss bank to serve the Greater China market, and started there in mid 2006, and worked for that bank actually until mid 2017. So altogether, you can say it's about 12 years private banking experience.
But you worked also in Singapore as well, right? For the same bank.
Oh yes, yes, that was in 2011. Usually back then the problem was the big financial crisis stopped a little bit the career plans of many people. I consider myself very lucky to be in a position there that I did not lose my job. I could learn a lot of valuable lessons during the big sell-off and the instability of 2008 and 9. And then in 2011, I got the opportunity to go to Singapore for that bank and made that switch in early 2012 and stayed another five and a half years in Singapore. Kept serving people from the Greater China area from Singapore.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that you were very lucky. So I assume at that time you got a job which you were very happy with.
Absolutely, yes. It was for me. It was the dream job. It was my ambition to actually go into that role, and it all worked out. All the stars aligned. I could actually travel more there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 12 years later, you quit your job.
Yeah. So once you do something right, you get better at it, and you understand your clients more and more. You also understand how the industry works, and of course, right, you can say that the bank has a brilliant reputation, a very good brand, strong brand. That one definitely helped me to open doors. However, at the end, I think clients, the more they get to know someone, clients, they don't buy from corporations or organizations. People buy from people. So I figured when the banks, sometimes they have a research view and see something in a certain light, maybe I don't agree, or maybe my client even doesn't agree, or things are just not so aligned sometimes. And I felt it increasingly difficult to serve my clients with my background, skill set, and best of my knowledge to be in the middle there. You are employed by someone, you get paid by someone, but you have to serve someone else. And so in 2017, I decided to jump, to quit my job and to venture out to try to do the consultancy wealth management business from the outside as an independent person. And instead of getting paid by a big corporation, I get paid by the clients now.
But how do you know that when you quit your job, everything will be fine financially, or you can still keep your lifestyle?
Financially, well, so I have kept a spreadsheet throughout my life, my financial life. I started in 1999 with that spreadsheet, and you can say it's a net worth tracker. It's also a tracker of income and expenses. You can call it a little bit something like budgeting. And I kept working and improving on these things until 2017 to see that my passive income, the income from my investments and rental income and other income, actually would be sufficient to cover our expenses as family. People in the field of FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early movement, they have certain rules around that. One is the 4% rule, where they say you should not you should only fire yourself if you have 4% or like 25 times your expenses in assets, or you can live off 4% of your assets every year. Then you should be safe. I actually just did it a little different. I saw that the passive income flow was sufficient with some buffer on top to sustain us as a family. And then I felt comfortable enough to give it a try, because If not then, when would I do it? The longer you wait, the harder it gets. I saw that also in banking. It's kind of a sweet spot in a career, especially for young people that might listen. When you're young, you can learn a lot in big companies. You can get exposure, you get to know interesting people. Then you come into the middle of your career. I did not have a midlife crisis, so to say, but when you're in the middle, you kind of see the end game. And you see certain people who never actually tried what else could be possible in their life. They are sometimes trapped. I call it the golden cage symptom. So they have a very stable position, a high salary, but they also have a very high standard of living. So for them, it would be almost impossible to let go of a high paid job. And they are income rich, but not asset rich. They cannot do the jump because they did not prepare themselves to do something like that. So I feel that part for listeners of the podcast, that would be quite interesting. So build your assets, build your passive income stream, and then you will have more options later in life.
So my next question is, as you mentioned that your spreadsheet from 1999 helped you to achieve the wealth which you have today, maybe you can tell the audience what is inside the spreadsheet and what do you track?
Okay, first, maybe I start with one general piece of advice. Usually people will focus more on what they track. That's very general. Doesn't matter if it's your money, your health, your weight, or whatever. It's what you track that you will focus on. What I started to track was the net worth. Very simply, what is your net worth? Your net worth is all your assets minus your liabilities. Assets that I don't, for instance, I never put my car into there. I never put some objects in there that are nice to have, but don't really help anything. But it's usually equities, ETFs, mutual funds, cash, business holdings, eventually, if you have real estate, this kind of things. And I also put in my third pillar for Swiss listeners, and the SRS, the retirement scheme in Singapore, for all it matters, because for me, they are also considered assets. On the other side, I put in some kind of a budget. So it's actually what expenses do I have, how much tax I have to pay, and how much income I have. And then, of course, when you follow that, you will see that the bigger your assets get, the more passive income you will make. Or in our case now, we get some rental income as well. So you activate your assets, and the assets actually start to work for you. That will, on the income, it's actually like with a company. If you have a company, you have a cash flow sheet. And a lot of companies are being valued in terms of cash flow instead of the actual intrinsic value. Cash flow helps you to grow. It's like oxygen. So focus on that cash flow. The more comes in, the less goes out. The bigger that difference, the faster this thing will actually, like an avalanche, like a snowball, will accumulate to something larger. The second thing maybe in the spreadsheet, I didn't just focus on what is now. I make columns. In my case, I did them by year, but I actually look at it every month. And by year, what do I focus on? How to grow the net worth. Then, of course, you will see today is now, we are in 2020. You will have 21, 22, and so on. Maybe you do 10 years forward. And then you can, if you do the Excel the right way, you actually can play around with little things. In my case, it's ridiculous things like not going to cut my hair with a hair cutter, but cutting it myself. Instead of spending $40 Swiss francs for a haircut, if I do it once a month, it's almost 500 a year. It will be 5,000 in 10 years. But then if you invest that at maybe 10% per year, you would be surprised. By age 90, just simply that one habit can make me a millionaire again.
So have you been cutting your hair since 1999?
Since 3 years, I'm cutting my hair myself.
Oh, okay. This year I started to cut my husband's hair, and I tried to cut my own hair because I noticed that so many people started to cut their own hair, and it's not so difficult, and you can save a lot of money, especially in Switzerland. Exactly. It's so expensive. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. A second example is maybe this summer. Okay, we are probably fortunate to have a garden. In our garden, we started to plant a lot of things, vegetables, salad, and so on. We have 3 kinds of salad here. And if I go to Coop or Migros, the retailers in Switzerland, you easily spend 3 to 4 Swiss francs on a bag of salad for a family. I like to eat salad maybe every second day. I can now go to the garden and get it all for free. I even figured out how to take just enough leaves to feed us without letting the salad plant die, so it continues to flourish.
So the second advice or second way you do it is really DIY as many as you can.
Yes, DIY. You always have to look at it. Life is a trade-off. Everything in life is a trade-off. You always have to consider the time and effort spent. Do you like it also? If you enjoy it, why not? I wouldn't force myself into it if you don't enjoy it. But if you see that the effort is not overwhelming, you can achieve something with a minimized effort. And why not? In Singapore, I brew my own beer, for instance. It was legal to brew up to 30 liters per month. I did 30 liters per month because they have a very high alcohol tax. I bought a little fridge, a beer brewing set, and if you have ever been to Singapore, you know how much a can of Tiger beer cost you in Fair Price, the retail shop. You easily spend $4 to $5 for one little can. I actually broke down the cost price for like 30 liters of beer to something around $50. And the effort it took me, maybe after 2-3 trial runs, at the end it took me maybe 2 hours of actual work time, and I had 30 liters of beer. And then you can calculate back how much you save, how much you enjoy the beer. Of course, you can be more creative and do your own recipes and so on, right? So I think in my life, it's something I really enjoy to explore different new things and learn new habits and new skills.
So the first one is you track your net worth. The second one is
Yes.
to optimize your spending. What else is in this spreadsheet?
What else? So optimizing your cash flows. People talk about credit card point optimization. And depending where you live, in Singapore, you get credit cards with extremely good rewards. So I'm talking about for instance, the DBS Women's Card. The DBS Women's Card is under my name.
Women's Card is under your name.
The Women's Card, the funny thing is DBS, which is a bank in Singapore, they didn't specify that you have to be a woman to get the Women's Card. But by now, because I promoted it a little bit, I know at least of 10 other men who use the DBS Women's Card. And the DBS Women's Card is giving you 4 KrisFlyer miles for every Singapore dollar spent online. And online, that can be Amazon purchases. It could even be bills. You pay your bills. So now I pay, for instance, some utility bills in Switzerland using my Singapore Women's Card, which qualifies for 4 miles on the dollar. Of course, there is an FX rate and the commission, but I calculated it backwards, and it allowed me a tremendous value of flight fare. In the last 4 years, every year, at least once, I could fly suite class to Singapore, which is the first class where you have your own room. I could fly business class for 2-3 times as well, because I channel my spending, my cash flow. I optimize my cash flow, letting it flow through the right channels. So on my spreadsheet, it's also like how to maximize rewards or points. Because let's say for us, we usually have around $30,000 of spending through these channels. If I let it go to waste, I miss out on 120,000 points. And if on my business expenses, I also let them flow through cards like that. So the 30,000 is the family spending. The business expenses is the other thing, which will give you, again, a tremendous amount of money. And this money, I spend it anyways. And for me, if I see the price, letting it go through the credit card or just paying it in cash or by transfer, why not get rewarded using the right channels? The value on the other side, I just give you one example. It's maybe the best deal I got was one time the suite class ticket. If I would have bought it, it cost around 8,000-9,000 Swiss francs. Of course, it doesn't really work the same if you go for economy class redemptions, because the value of that flight is much less if you buy it directly. But that flight, actually, I spent 30,000, I get something back for 9,000 for free. It means that anything I spend gives me back an immediate discount of 30%, roughly.
Wow. Indeed.
So that's just one little thing how you can optimize. And it's something I don't have to work a lot. Once you understand the rules, you make it a habit. And then from then on, you use the right credit cards for the right things. Depending where you live, it makes sense to look through the options available to you.
Through this spreadsheet, did you find a lot of insight that you can activate some of your assets, generate more passive income?
Yes, indeed. So expenses part, expat life in Singapore was very expensive. We had to pay for private school tuition. 2 kids, 1 kid easily is 30,000 a year. 2 kids is 60,000 a year. It actually puts your biggest expenses they will stand out. They will jump at your face if you look at the spreadsheet. So if you book it down, it will make it very easy to look at where your money is going. And if you want to optimize, it's very good to have it black on white in front of you. And then you just go through item by item and decide what can be done. Can something be done here? Is it worth it to do something here? Or you say maybe, no, private school here, that's what I want. I will not change that. Then of course, that's fine too, right? If you get wealthy, you can also afford certain things, but you can make choices. It empowers you in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
It also, if you have certain assets, you can actually look at, are they income producing assets like dividends, or are they more growth assets, like you buy a share for the capital growth, you buy other shares for dividend income. You can actually put them in different buckets. And on my side, the income back in the days, it was, of course, the salary was very big. And then the passive income started to grow. And the more changes you make, you can see how your passive income can probably at one point in time eventually replace your salary. And that one, of course, that's called the crossover point, when passive income exceeds your expenses. And it's a double-edged thing. So you push your expenses down, you will be there faster. You put your income up, you will be there faster. If you do both at once, you will be even faster.
Yeah. And for the audience out there, if they want to check it out, how did you do with your spreadsheet? Is there a template on your website, or where can they get some more information about this?
I'm working on that template. It should be out very soon.
Okay, so they should
working on that template.
They should follow your Facebook.
Oh yes, please follow the Facebook or follow on Twitter. Facebook, I think I'm more active there, or simply go to my blog on my website once in a while.
I also want to touch on the topic on time hacking, as you mentioned to me in the past. Maybe for the audience, to explain to the audience, like, how does it work and how does it help you to be more productive?
Okay, for time hacking, one point maybe to start with, there is a law, it's called the Parkinson's law. Let's say you have a task. Maybe your boss tells you, oh, you have 1 week to accomplish this. Most people, the average people, they will not get started to work very hard on day 1 or 2, right? They will maybe day 1 or 2, they will have this task in the back of their mind, maybe not even start thinking about it. And then the closer the deadline gets, the more they will put effort into it. And as a result, most likely they will have it done by the end of the week. So the Parkinson's law says work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So if you give a task 1 week, most likely it will take you 1 week. If you give it 1 year, it will take you 1 year. But now the interesting point will happen. What if you say, I will get this done today? So I don't wait. I get to work, I do this today. You actually, maybe you cannot do it today. Maybe it will take 2 days. But the effect it will have is that you actually will be much faster. So time hacking, or this time slipping, is, I compare it with the space-time continuum. You have 2 points on a sheet of paper, A and B. And then when you ask someone, how fast does it go? What's the shortest way from A to B? Most people, they will think of a line, a direct line from A to B. But very little people will actually think of folding the paper together and put A and B right on top of each other. So with time hacking, what I mean with that is simply try to find shortcuts. For most things in life, there will be something like shortcuts. So for instance, you want to land your dream job. Don't go the normal route and try to send your CV through the normal channels. You have to get to know people that are inside the organization. You have to get to know what are they looking for. Even better, if they start to get to know you, then you will have a huge advantage, a huge head start over your competition. The same thing will be for landing contracts with clients and so on. You have to find ways to speed up the process and not go as normal. So then you can hack time. And the things that usually take much longer, they can be shortened. Another thing is probably assets. A lot of people, they have a house or they have assets somewhere, some cash lying around, but maybe these assets are not activated. So you can be asset rich, but assets that don't work for you doesn't really help, right? So you can actually think of ways how to turn that around. So for me, that happened when I realized on my spreadsheet, for instance, our school for the kids, the private school in Singapore would cost every year 60,000 for 2 kids per year that you have to pay, $60,000. And our house was an asset. We have a home in Singapore, but we were living in that ourselves. But I realized if we rent it out, I could maybe generate another 60,000. So the time hacking part there was the delta of cutting the kids' school expenses plus adding the income from renting out that asset and activating that asset. The delta was $120,000 per year, which allowed me to time hack. You could also say, if I wouldn't have thought of that, I probably will keep working for another 5 years to build up more assets. So very often there might be a shortcut in front of your nose, but you don't see it.
From all your experiences, do you have any advice or learnings for our audience out there?
I think one thing is dream big. So I have a blog, it's called Financial Imagineer. Financial Imagineer means something around the lines that use your imagination, engineer your life, and use money as a tool. Make your dreams happen. Dream big. I say this first. In my life, I have put it like that. If I'm the banker, I go to see my clients. Usually you have people that are entrepreneurs, they have built something, or you have people that inherited money. But there's very little people who simply stayed at a 9-to-5 job, worked through that their whole life. There are some, yes, but it's the minority. So dream big. Again, you only have one life. You don't have to be afraid. I think just try to overcome your fears. If you have something very big in your head, go try it, especially when you're young. I think the risk is higher that once you are old, you might regret for not having tried it. That regret might be even stronger than the pain that you might feel if you fail. People are usually afraid of failure. I think failure is something we have to live with. It's like when you're a little kid that tries to walk the first time. There's no book how to walk. Nobody will teach you, oh, now you have to put your foot here and that foot there. No, the babies usually, they try to stand up and they will fall down hundreds of times. But one day they can walk. So hopefully entrepreneurs don't need hundreds of attempts, but the point is there's little things and big things you can learn. Just try it. Don't be afraid. I think that's number one. Dream big and go for it. I think especially maybe the second thing for people starting their careers, the 21st century, it will be full of changes once again. Humanity will keep advancing. You will see artificial intelligence coming up, robotics, the Internet of Things will take over. There's a lot of changes happening. Anyway, no matter what you do, in order to stay relevant, you have to keep learning. So invest in yourself as well. And don't just spend your time watching Netflix at night. Do something for yourself to build yourself into this world. If that is linked with your dreams, even better. And maybe the third one, we talk a lot about money. Money is important in this world, yes, but money is not everything. Just keep in mind that money should just be a catalyst. Don't just say, I want to be rich because it's good to be rich. You have to be rich because of you can help someone with that, or you should have something deeper, a passion, and then it's easier, the whole journey. If you just go after the numbers, it will be not nice, your journey. I love the concept of ikigai. It's a Japanese concept. Ikigai is something that people in Okinawa follow very closely. Okinawa, very interestingly, has one of the highest living expectancies in the world. There were some scientists, they looked at blue zones, places where people live extraordinarily long. And Okinawa is one that has the highest proportion of centenarians, people that are above 100. And when they went there to figure out, of course, it's maybe they do more exercise, they have very healthy diet, but they also figured out people there, let's say you meet someone from Okinawa, they don't introduce themselves with their job. So, oh, hi, I'm Matthias, I'm a banker. No, they say, for instance, I am Matthias, I help people with their financial lives to achieve their dreams. And that is not something that has to stop once you stop working for a job. It can be something that you can still do once you are retired, or you can help young people, older people, anyone. In my case, my ambition is also I want to help people that are not given the access to services like big famous banks provide to millionaires. So some of these concepts to share with the world, to help other people to get more financial literate. And the Ikigai combines 4 things, very simple. What do you love to do? That's number 1. Where are you good at? So where do you have skills and talent? Number 3, what does the world need? So solve a problem, go where there is something that you can apply your talent to. And number 4, last but not least, what can you get paid for? If money is involved, even better, because then there is value in it. If society values what you do. And if you find a place that combines these 4, you found actually the perfect spot of happiness. So it doesn't have to end when you have reached your financial independence. Maybe it even starts there. Just looking at people like Bill Gates. Bill Gates, he's super wealthy person, but he ventures out, he tries to help the world with other things, with his foundation. It doesn't stop. Maybe it's just the beginning.
It's a very nice concept. As you said, money is not the most important thing. It should be a tool. It should be a catalyst that help people to achieve their goals in life, their real purpose. It's very interesting what you mentioned, those advice and tips. I think they're very valuable, especially for people who just started out their career. I really agree with you about the second point. I think the second point you mentioned about keep learning. I think exactly how you get your job, because you can speak Chinese at that time, right? You learn Chinese. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get this opportunity. So I think a lot of things happen
it opened
partially.
Doors,
Partially because of luck, partially because like we ourselves, we need to learn. And then when the opportunity came, then we are ready. Yeah.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned about that you want to help ordinary people with their wealth creation, with their personal finance. How could the audience find you if they're interested in or learning about your services?
Maybe first and foremost, my services are not yet online. I do have a website called financial-imagineer.com, financialimagineer.com. You can also follow me on Facebook or Twitter under Financial Imagineer. Reach out by email to Matt, M-A-T-T, at financial-imagineer.com. My services are not yet online because if too many people at once will call, maybe I will be overwhelmed. I truly have a passion to help people. I currently also run wealth management for a Singapore setup where we help clients. That's at the moment my main passion there. This passion here, it's something I want to open as a side project, maybe very exclusive to listeners of your podcast. And going forward, eventually I will add this on my website as well. Yeah. So if anyone that is listening today would like to have a free consultation, maybe half an hour, 30-minute session with me, we can do a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call, whatever you like. Please feel free to reach out and we can see where do you stand, where would you like to go, what are your dreams, and how to get there.
I will write your website and your email address in the description so that people can reach out to you if they want to.
Thank you so much.
If you like today's content, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next episode.